Hello class, welcome back. So now that we've set up our auth context for our application to know whether we're logged in or not, now we can use that information to decide on whether to show something or not. One example of this is we're gonna now add a post form for us to be able to submit a post as a user from the homepage. So let's get to that. All right, let's go to our app. Make sure you have your server and client running. I do on mine, so I'm just gonna close this terminal window. Let's go to the home page. So home, and here, right here at the top, I want to show another column if we're logged in and put that post form in that column. So here, before this loading tag here, we'll say, actually no, we need to get the user from the context first. Here I'll say, actually here, we'll say, we'll import the context. So import auth context from, go back to context / auth. So here we'll actually we need to use we need to get the use context hook as well. So here we'll say const, we can destructure the user equals use context, and we'll pass it our auth context like that. Now that we have the user, so here we'll say if user, we will render this markup, or actually not percentage, we'll do and like this. So if we have a user, that means if we're logged in, let's show this form. So here we'll say what is it, grid.column that we want to show, and let's close that. And inside of here we'll put our form, but I want to put this in its own component, because otherwise this will be massive and we'll have another mutation written as well here on top of this query that we have. So here I'll simply say post form and close this tag. Of course we haven't created it yet, but we will. So here we'll say import post form from. So here we're in pages, so we have to go back one level and go to components / post form. All right, let's close this. Let's go to our components and create a file called postform.js, and let's say rcf and tab. Doesn't work. Oh, it's rfc. Anyway, it refuses to work for some reason. Let's type it manually. These snippets sometimes are weird. Maybe it's interacting with another extension. All right, so here we'll say function post form, form, and it's gonna do something, and we need to export it as well. So export default post form. All right, let me close that. So here what we need to do is we need to actually import the form from semantic UI. So we say import form from semantic UI React, and we need our custom use form hook as well. So here we'll say import use form from, go back one level to util / hooks. So all right, let's go to our component. Here we'll say return, and let's open our form, and this will have a onSubmit of onSubmit, and let's close that. And inside of here we're gonna have actually let's put a header first. Let's put a header too, saying create a post colon, and here we'll have only one field, but I'm gonna have it as a field because I want the button to be inside of it, contained in it. So here we'll say form.field and close this, and inside of here we'll have the form.input element, and this will have a couple of props. So we will have a place holder. We'll say hi world, like the name of the app, and we'll have a name. Let's call this body, because this is the body of the post. We'll have an onChange of onChange. We'll get these from the use form hook. So here we'll have a value, which is going to be values.body, .body, and we'll have as well an error, which we will handle later, or actually we'll handle the error later. For now, let's just have it like this, and let's put a button, a submit button. So this will be of type submit, and let's give it a teal color, so color teal. Let's close that, and it will say submit. And here let's bring the button as well from semantic UI. All right, so now we need to use our use form and create these values and on change and whatnot. So here we'll say const values and on change and on submit. As you're used to the custom hook, we'll say use form, and we'll have a callback. Let's call it create post callback. And we'll have an initial state which will just have a body of that's an empty string. All right, now we need to actually write our mutation to persist a post to our database. So here let's write the mutation. So here we'll say const, what do we call it? Create post mutation. And we need to bring GQL. So let's say import GQL from GraphQL tag. GraphQL. So here we'll say GQL, open the template string, and we'll say mutation. Oops. All right, let me tab that down. We'll say mutation. Let's call this create post, and this will take a body of type string, and that's required. And inside of here, it will call the create post mutation that we created, and it will pass it a body of the value body like that. So let's actually get everything that we get back. So the ID, the body, the created at, the username. We get the likes with everything inside of them. So we get the ID of the like, the username, and the created at. And we'll get the like count. We'll get the comments, and from comments we're going to get the ID, the body, the username, and the created at. Same stuff that we get from fetch all posts. And here we'll get the comment count as well. And yeah, that's everything. All right, so now we need to use this mutation. So here, okay, we need the use mutation hook. So here we'll say import use mutation from at Apollo / React hooks. And here we'll say const create post, and we'll get, actually the way we handled errors on the register and login page was that we used the on error method, and then we set them to local errors. But here it doesn't make sense because we only have one error, and we're not gonna extract it from a deeply nested property. So I'm just gonna get it like this. I'm just gonna get it from the this second parameter. So we will say error like that, and we'll say use mutation, and we'll pass it our create post mutation, and we'll pass it our variables, which will be the values, which only holds the body. So we'll have an update, and or have I been using, I think I've been using the function form, so I'll stick to that. So update, and we'll emit the proxy, and we'll have the result. And here we'll say we're just gonna console log the result for now. And we need to reset actually the body field, because we want to empty the body field once we submit it. All right, this should be fine. We shouldn't have any errors. So let's save and let's look at our app. Cool, we don't have any errors. All right, let's look at our app. Okay, we get an error now because create post callback. Yeah, it's not defined. And on change, I might have misspelled something here. Yeah, on change like that. And we need this callback. So this callback needs to be here, and it will only call the create post like that. Actually, I forgot to add the function keyword, function like that. All right, let's save. Okay, so let's open our developer tools, and let's log in. We log in. Okay, now that we have a token, but now if I submit a post, of course it's gonna fail, because it's gonna ask me authorization header must be provided. Now we need to set up our Apollo client in a way that once we have a token in our storage, we need to get that token, get it, and add it as an authorization header automatically without having to add it each time we send a request. We can do this by using something called Apollo link context. And let's go to the Apollo GraphQL website. And so yeah, this, actually no, it's not this page. I was looking for a different page. Apollo link context. Okay, so yeah, we'll use this set context function from Apollo link context, and the way this works is it kind of works like a middleware. So it sets a context of this request and kind of modifies whatever you want to like do before that request is kind of forwarded towards the HTTP link. So let's install this and actually set it up. So I'm going to open a new window and say npm install. Actually, let's cd into the client first, and I'll say npm install Apollo link context, like that. So we need to set it up in our Apollo provider. So let's go to our Apollo provider, and here let's import that. So we'll import the set context function, set context from Apollo link context, and here we'll create this new link, and we'll say const auth link equals set context, and this will have a handler. This takes a request and a previous context that we can kind of get data from and edit and forward to the next operation, but we don't need any of these parameters, so we can just omit them and just do like this, just an empty argument list. And here we need to get our token from the local storage. So we'll say const token equals local storage dot get item, and remember we named it JWT token. So now that we have it, we need to set it as a authorization header. So here we'll say return, because this will modify the current request. So here we'll say return, and we'll do an object, and inside of that there's another object, and we have a or actually no, that's gonna be inside of the headers. So we'll do an object, and inside of that we have a headers, and we'll add an authorization header. So authorization, and we need to check if we have the token, because we might not have it. So we'll say token, and we'll do a ternary operator. So if it's the case, if we have a token, we want to say bearer and do like a template string, so we can add a variable here, and then let's put the token here. Else we'll just add an authorization header with an empty string value. Now this will kind of merge the existing headers of the request with this headers object that we gave, so it will just add this authorization header. Alright, of course now we're not using this yet, so let's use that. Or actually, let me put this on top of the client declaration here, because we need to use it here. And here we just need to concatenate it to this link, but it needs to go before the HTTP link. So we can say auth link dot, we'll use the JavaScript concat function and say concat and pass this our HTTP link. Alright, this should actually add the token to our request and successfully send any protected API calls. Alright, let's save this. And let's go to our app. Let's make sure we have a token. All right, we do. We have a token, and it's valid. I logged in less than an hour ago. So now if we say, let's go to our network, clear everything out, and we just send some gibberish, we press enter, we get a request here. All right, it says args is not defined. Let me check the server code. Okay, I added this line for validation last time, but instead of saying just body, I actually added this args object. So let me save that and run the server again and test. All right, let's test it. Click submit, and there we go. We get a 200 response, and we get create post, and it actually, you know, returns us the post that's been created. So it's successfully been created. Now, of course, it's not showing it on the front end because we hadn't added any code to do that. All right, so if we refresh and we fetch the post again, there we go. That's our post right there. Now, the way we're going to show this post on the front end is we're not going to use context. We're going to use Apollo cache in memory. But the problem with that is if we look at the Apollo DevTools, if we go to cache, you'll see, by the way, in the Apollo DevTools, you can see right here the queries that we're sending. So once the app loaded, it just sent this get posts query to get all the posts. And if we go to cache, there are a couple of things here, but if you go to root query, you'll see that all the queries that we send are actually stored separately. So the get posts query right now is caching 5 posts. We need a way to directly access this cache and modify it and add this new post that we just added. And we can do this. I hope this time the Google search works. So let's go to, caching data. Let's go a bit down. It's right here, direct cache access. So what we need to do, we're gonna access the cache directly, and we're gonna use, now here they're using render props and they're using the client variable or object, but we don't have access to that. But instead we have access to the proxy object, which will let us perform. This is a bit confusing, but you will understand it the more you use it. We actually gonna perform GraphQL queries on our existing client data instead of actually reaching to the server. All right, let's actually apply this. So let's go to our post form, and here on the update, instead of just logging the result, we want to access this cache. So here actually we're not going to omit the proxy, we're going to write proxy like that, and we're going to say proxy dot read query, and we need to pass a query here. And this query will be, let's say if you had the get posts query and you sent it here, it will actually fetch the posts from the client data that's stored in the cache. But the problem here, we're already using this query in the home page. We don't want to type it again. So what we can do, we can outsource it to its own file. So let's copy this entire query from the home page. Let's cut it actually. And in the util folder, let's create a file, call it graphql.js. And here we'll say, we'll export it. We'll export const fetch post query like that. And of course we need GQL. So here we'll say import GQL from GraphQL tag. Now in the home we need to import it and use it. So here we'll say import fetch posts query from, we go back one level to util/GraphQL. Now we don't need GQL anymore. So in the home, it's going to work the same way it did before. And in the post form, now we need to get that fetch posts query. So we'll say fetch posts query from, we go back one level to util/GraphQL. All right, so now in read query, we just pass this fetch posts query, but we need to give it to put it in a query variable, and we just pass it like that. Now, let's put this in a variable. So we'll say const data equals proxy.read query, and we pass that query. Now all of that data that's in our cache is sitting inside of this data variable. So, but it's inside of another variable called getPosts, because remember, this is this data that we're getting is the root query. It's this data right here. So our posts are inside of getPosts. So here we need to edit that getPosts entry. So we'll say data.getPosts equals. Now that we have the result here, we can just say open an array, and we want to put it at the top because this is the newest post. So we'll say result.data.getPost, because this is where our response is stored, and then comma, and then we'll spread the existing get post. So we'll spread the existing posts. Now of course we need to persist this. So for this we'll use proxy.write query, and here we'll say the query is fetch post query, and the data will be just this data object right here. All right, let's save everything. Actually, let's save all files. Make sure you save all files, and let's go to our app. Okay, so it says GraphQL cannot resolve GraphQL. I misspelled the name of the file here. GraphQL. Let's save. Let's refresh. No such. Okay, I misspelled it somewhere else, probably in the home. Okay, that's renamed, and here as well it's renamed. Okay, third time is the charm. All right, cool. So now if we go to our cache, we see that we have 5 posts, and if we post a new one, all right, it breaks. So it cannot read property ID of undefined. Okay, because I made a mistake here. The data is actually stored in create post, not get post, because that's the name of the mutation. All right, so let's save. This should work now. It did send that mutation, but it didn't persist it properly in the cache because I misspelled gave the wrong mutation name. So now if I post one, and if we look at the cache, So look at the root query, we have 6 posts. So if we submit this, now it's 7 posts and it actually shows. So if we say another one, it's actually shown on our front end. All right, that's cool. One thing that I wanted to show you is that here when you look at the queries, and if we go to this post and we go back, it sends another query called get posts. But I've set up our server code in a way that each time we send a request from each of the resolvers, let's say the create post resolvers is gonna console log create posts, and the get posts will console log that, and the get post will console log that, just for us to see when these actual resolvers are being hit. So here you see we get posts once, but in our app, in our front end, if we go back and if we go back to the home page, it sends that query, but from our server it doesn't print that again, because it's actually sending that query to the client side cache, not to the server side. The first one is the only one that's actually being sent to the server, but the other two are actually sent to the client side cache. Just for you to bear in mind, if you see this list of queries and you're thinking this is actually sending too many requests to our servers, it's not. It's just sending that one first request. All right, so this is it for this class. In the next one, we're gonna work on the like and the comment buttons, so look forward to that. I look forward to seeing you. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.